Hello, good afternoon. Please take a seat, Andrew. Last session of CloudFest 2023. I'm really sad. This could go on for a couple of days more. Yes, but this is a very exciting session we have today, and we thought we have something inspirational for you, which you can take home, something which you can think about in the next couple of months. So what can the CloudFest community learn from a pro surfer? I came up with 3 bullet points. You learn how to confront yourself and become one with the forces. You learn about mindfulness, relaxation, preparation, and a bit of risk comes also into play. And last, you learn when to commit to something and when to let a swell pass. Please give a warm welcome to Andrew Cotton, one of the most famous big wave surfers in the world, the guy who helped to develop the greatest break in the world in Nazaré, Portugal, Andrew Cotton.
Thank you.
Andrew, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to CloudFest.
Thanks for having me, thank you.
A complete different scene from what you usually have, most likely.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
So, for our audience, we would like to show you a short video which gives you a visual impression what our dialogue is going to be about in the next couple of minutes. Let's go.
Nicole, you up there?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, so we're all linked up now. Everybody good? All good.
Oh, big set. Big set. Giant. Fuck me.
There was no wave too big. It was just looking for bigger and bigger and bigger. We were a team, and we stumbled across something super special. Nazaré.
Nazaré isn't like any other big wave spot. It's a different animal.
This is where the biggest wave in the world is.
It stands up so tall. I found what I'd been looking for so many years. I need search no more.
Can't help but think, is this the last time I'm going to see you?
The town of Nazaré, that is my family.
Is it really worth putting everything on the line?
You should not surf those waves.
It was like now or never.
It's like nowhere else you've ever surfed. It's the Everest of the ocean.
Does the 100-foot wave exist? I think, yeah, it does. Is it surfable? I don't know.
There's no turning back. It's only straight ahead.
Go get it, go get it. Go, 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 go.
I mean, Kotti, these are very powerful pictures.
Yeah, it's quite emotional looking at some of those pictures over the years.
Indeed. I mean, look, when I go out in Barcelona, Mediterranean Sea, and if I catch my 3-foot wave, not my 100-foot wave, that's the surfing which I know. Big wave surfing is obviously a complete different animal. How was it for you when you first entered your very first big wave?
It's kind of funny, what is a big wave? And for me, I think my first big wave was pretty much the first wave I caught when I was 8 years old. I grew up in North Devon in the UK, and I can remember the waves then, just like you were saying then, like a 3 foot feeling absolutely ginormous. And I think it was that feeling from those first few waves that I caught, that you kind of end up chasing for the rest of your life, you know, and of course your threshold gets up and the waves get bigger and bigger, and but it's still the same. I'm still chasing that same feeling as when I was 8, you know. So.
Okay. Yeah, you just mentioned you grew up in England, in Devon, so which is not really the famous place for big waves.
No.
So, but like, how does this outsider status, which you may have, like not growing up in Hawaii or California, actually affected your career and your decision making?
I think you just, like England, it doesn't have big waves, but it does have surf, and you can surf a lot. For me, it kind of made me want it more. Like, it feels like you have to prove yourself more. So it was a huge like a motivator. Like, you're going to have to not only like go out there and do it, but you've got to prove, like, go above and beyond, you know. And so I definitely use it as a huge motivator to prove myself. And then it comes around, you know. And once you start getting a few big waves, or because you know, it's a talking point. Well, no, wait, this guy's from England, and there's not necessarily, you know, it's not very big waves there. So you kind of like can feed off that and get you know, sometimes a bit more media attention than you would if you know, if I grew up in Hawaii. There's hundreds of big wave surfers, you know. So yeah, it can be a positive.
Yeah. So what I know about you is also basically back when, before you became a pro surfer, you worked as a plumber in England.
Yeah.
So you had to deal with water already, but in a different way. So, but let's say that career which you did before pro surfing or pro big wave surfing, how does it inform you basically what you learned about your decision making and your career?
Do you know? I think working, you know, like working as a plumber, like it was a choice which I retrained at like 25, 26, and I went back to college and then did an apprenticeship and then got a job as a plumber. And you know, it kind of like taught me. I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. Like, I had no interest in plumbing. You know, like, I was just doing it because it was a paycheck. You know, like, and instantly it was like, I can't do this forever. You know, it was a huge motivator to like actually work in a passion is more valuable than actually, you know, a paycheck at the end of the week and or the month. So doing that and working on building sites and it kind of motivated me to look at my surfing and actually do something within my surfing. And I never thought I'd be a professional surfer. I just thought, oh, okay, I'm going to go back and I want to surf big waves, and maybe I'll work in the surf industry, you know, like, and I think that was the choice. And then it just evolved into what it is now, you know.
Mm-hmm. And as a professional surfer, do you follow some kind of daily routine?
Yeah, of course. You know, like I think life revolves around the ocean, obviously, but also the forecast, the surf forecast. So, you know, you want to be. It's like big wave surfing is all about being in the right place at the right time, to give yourself that chance of you know, of getting the best waves. But you know, apart from looking at the forecast and deciding where I need to be, you know, and where the biggest waves are going to be, you know, I spend a lot of time training in the pool. You know, I love keeping fit, road bike. But I think those things I'd be doing regardless. Mm-hmm. But it is that thing, you know, like you need to be ready, you know.
Okay, I see. What do you think is the least understood aspect of what you do with big wave surfing?
I think the least. It's funny. I feel that it's perceived that we're like sort of adrenaline junkies, and I can see how you could perceive, you know, like think that, but it's totally not. You know, I think, you know, like I'm far from like an adrenaline sort of addict or anything like that. Like my passion's always been surfing and big waves, and that feeling I get from riding big waves I don't know. It's more. I feel it's like almost more zen, like meditation. You know, like I feel like time's slowing down, and yeah, like you know, I got scared riding the roller coasters yesterday. You know, I'm definitely not an adrenaline junkie. You know, so
Okay.
yeah.
So what is for you basically more scary, the Silver Star or the big wave in Nazaré?
The Silver Star. You kidding me?
Really?
Yeah, for sure. The height and the speed, like yeah.
Okay.
Which is, it sounds ridiculous, but yeah.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to die, right? So you try to keep the risk out as much as possible out of the game. And what we already saw here in the movie, basically the teaser which we just showed, it's definitely a team sport. It's not you alone out there. You know, there's the jet ski guy, there's the pointers.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about that. You know, I think that is very interesting for us as a community. Why is specifically big wave surfing a team sport?
Yeah, it's you know, like obviously in the images you see a surfer going down a big wave, and you know, and everyone just wants to know, you know, about the surfer, but it is very much a team sport, and I think it's because it's so dangerous, you know, and you need you know your safety guys and your spotters, and you need to work, you know, coordinate correctly to get the best, biggest waves safely, and every one of those people, depending on how big your team is, and you know the standard sort of team would be like 4 or 5 people, but they're all equally important to that ride. Mm-hmm. You know, if any one of them doesn't do their job or you know mistimes it, like the ride could be unsuccessful, or you won't get the wave, or you know you could get injured, or you know like all those things. So and for me as a surfer, you know, like obviously I like to surf and I like to be that guy going down the wave, but I also love to do the safety. I love to do the radio. I love to drive, you know, like, so I think it is important not just to be that guy. It's also important to be a team player and help, you know, your friends or your teammates, you know, get the wave of their life, or, you know, the wave that they've been visualizing or dreaming of. And I think it's unusual, you know, like, because surfing is a very selfish sport. But big wave surfing, especially like the toe surfing that we do, is very much a team sport.
Because I mean, there's a dependency on life with that, so you have to work as a team, extremely strong together.
And you can even like, you know, there's when situations happen and things can go wrong. You know, you can find yourself helping out another team. Mm-hmm. You know, like so there is a very much, although you're competing against other people, you end up. You know, you can end up helping your other teams, and you know, for safety and things like that as well. So.
The teaser which we saw is part of this HBO documentary, 100-Foot Wave.
Yes.
It's the it's the story about the search of this 100-foot wave, if it exists and where, and it's the story about Nazaré in Portugal. And you were very influential, actually, in the early days to develop that sport. Can you maybe tell us a little bit the history or the story behind it? Like how did you find Nazaré, and how did it get started?
How did it get started? I mean, it's a you know, it's a funny one really. Like I don't feel like I was just in the right time at the right place. It's actually the City Hall wanted to do a project to promote Nazaré. They invited Garrett McNamara, who at that point was already a very famous big wave surfer, one of the most successful big wave surfers probably of all time. And they were looking for someone to do safety and to drive the jet ski. And yeah, Garrett phoned us up. I'd never really met Garrett at that point. He phoned me up in 2010 and was like, can you drive a jet ski, and how good are you? And to be honest, I completely blagged it, because I wasn't that good at driving the jet ski. And I saw it as an opportunity. I knew obviously of Garrett's reputation and how good he was. And at that time I was plumbing part-time, and I was a lifeguard, and I was like a wannabe professional surfer. Like, so I just saw that opportunity and grabbed it with both hands. He had this vision. So in 2010 we started, and it was the motto was big, bigger, biggest, and he wanted to surf to get the world record within 3 years of this project, and basically promote Nazare to the world, and that was the vision of the town hall as well. And by the second year, he got the world record, which I towed him into. And the rest is sort of history, really.
Yeah, with hundreds of millions of views on YouTube.
Yeah. And you know, it's still now like that investment and that vision from the city hall there to promote the town. Like now it was just a summer season sort of town, and now it's busy like all year round. You know, like the first couple of years when there was big waves, there would be literally no one on the cliff, no one there watching. It would just be me, Garrett, you know, the team, you know, one filmer, and now there's literally thousands of people when the waves are big there. You know, it's crazy. They transformed it. You know, it's amazing.
So that's a winter spot, obviously.
Yes,
Nazare in Portugal. Tell us a little bit about the process, like these 3-4 days before the swell arrives. Like, at what point do you recognize there's something big coming here, so that also your colleagues from Hawaii or from Southern America and so on have a chance to fly in? At what point do you make this decision? There might be the right weather, there might be the right condition, something is coming.
Yeah, so there's numerous weather apps, and every surfer will have their own favorite apps that they use or charts that they use. And it predicts, obviously, the weather, like, or the swells for like almost like 14 days out. So you can get an idea of like 2 weeks away, like what's going on, but it's all just made up until it actually happens. So you'd be watching, if I saw like a swell for next week, say 7 days time, that looked promising, you know, you touch base with your teammates or who you want to surf with and say, oh, have you seen the swell? Eyes on it. And then you just follow it. You follow it, and I follow the swell, and then I cross-reference it over like different apps and different, you know, to making sure that, so some apps will say something different, you know, or slightly different, and I'll try and like sort of cross-reference it. And then we'd make a call as late as possible, as late as humanly possible. You know, if we're all in Nazare, then it's easy. But if you've got, you know, if Garrett's got to fly in, or you know, you got to move somewhere, you usually make it like 48 hours out. You'd make the call, and then still then, like the day, you never really know until the day. You know, like, it's the weather. You know, like so yeah.
So how does a typical contest day look like?
It's.
I mean, how many surfers are we talking about in Nazare? How many are doing that?
There's the Nazare Challenge is the big wave contest in Portugal and Nazare, and I think there's 24 surfers. They'll amber light it about 5-6 days out, so they'll sort of like email everyone and say, okay, we're looking at this swell, keep your eyes on. You sort of start looking at travel and how you're going to get there. And again, it's exactly the same. Like they'll green light it as late as possible, so 48 hours. They'll work out where the furthest competitors got to come from and how they would get there, and then they would make the call like that. You know, those things. I think this is the hard thing. It's so hard to predict, and so it's not like, you know, a football match where like next year you go, okay, you know, on such and such a date at this time we're going to have the match. You know, like it's just not like that. You know, and you know, which makes it really hard to promote or to do. You know, so but yeah.
Okay. I wanted to see him in December this year, just 4 months ago, but there were no waves.
There
I
was
was
no
in
waves,
Lisbon, and I contacted him, and there was no waves that weekend, so I hope to see one of the challenges next year.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So look, for our audience here, you should Google this YouTube video, Andrew Cotton, Wipe Out of a Year. I think it's one of the most watched surf videos ever. I have no idea how many 100 million views that has. Yeah, so, but, I mean, this is super crazy, that video. Take a look into that. So what was going on in your mind when you, like, see, like, holy shit, I will not make this? You know, what's going on in such a bad situation?
Well, at first, like, you know, you never think you're not going to make it until you don't make it. You know,
Okay.
do you know what I mean? Like, so going into that wave, I was visualizing like one of the best waves ever, and it was literally like the last second, like it was like, oh, this is going to be an amazing wave. This is an amazing wave, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, right, I'm in a really, really bad spot. I wasn't going fast enough. I made a couple of errors or misjudgments on my surfing, and it went bad really quick. I jumped off my board, like I knew how to get away from my board. The boards are actually quite short, but they're really, really heavy. They're about the board that I was riding that day was about 12 kgs.
Okay.
So if that thing hits you, so I was wanting to get away from the board, and then it was one of the most strangest wipeouts I've ever had. Like if you watch the video, you'll see like I literally like get projected out in front of the wave, like as the wave hits, get shot out, and so it was a very strange feeling. But then when I hit, it was like landing on concrete, you know. And I instantly knew that I'd hurt myself badly, and it was my back. But it's the ocean, you know. Like at that point, you can't just call time out and waves stop. Like I can remember being underwater and being like in pain, and then surfacing, and then I was underwater for so long, and at the time I came up, the second wave was about to break on me. Like no one had a chance to rescue me or anything. So I had another wave on the head, and then after the second wave, so I was going through all these things. You know, the second wave getting tossed around, and then after the second wave, I managed to get rescued, and they managed to get me to the beach, and I was in hospital. Really, everything like after that, after I got out the sea, everything was like textbook. You know, like I pretty much knew I broke my back, and the lifeguards did me like a perfect spinal takedown, and I was in hospital within like half an hour, and I had X-rays within a couple of hours, and yeah, they told me the news. So.
When we met for the first time back then in Portugal, I think it was just like 6 or 7 months after that extreme accident which you had, and I remember how you were fighting back during the training, you know, in the fitness room of a hotel back then. What did you do to get back? I mean, other ones, most likely a normal person would have stopped, you know, but you seem to have such kind of fighting character, you know, a very strong character to come back, and you're a pro surfer still, you know. How did you come back?
I don't know, like, maybe it's a bit of ego, you know, like I didn't want to go out on a fail, but also surfing brings so much happiness to me, like it's a passion, you know, like there's no, like, yeah, you toy with the idea of giving up or like, yeah, it's too much, but actually, like, I love it. So there was no question that I wasn't going to come back, and I saw it as a challenge. And to be fair, it was, you know, you got to turn. I really enjoyed my rehab. I really enjoyed my rehab and threw myself into it, and just thought I was lucky, you know, and yeah, it was good. It was as bad as it sounds. It was a great experience.
Okay, good to hear. I mean, you're still laughing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what has surfing taught you about life and business on the dry land?
Never give up.
Never give up.
Never give up. You're going to have some huge wipeouts, you know, like but, you know, I think my surfing, it started changing when I started writing down goals and really focusing on what I wanted. And I have had some huge fails, huge wipeouts, but having that, like, never give up mentality, you know, there's always, it's not about the last wave, it's always about the next wave for me. And I think that's what I focus on. It's about the next wave.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about social media and online presence. Like, how important is it for you? I mean, social media is obviously very important for you, but what's for you the importance of your own domain, your own website, talking with sponsors? Like, let's say, maybe differently, like, how much % of your time, you know, your professional time, do you spend with sponsors and your professional marketing?
It's you know, like, it's a tough one. Like the website and domain and stuff like that. Like, to be honest, like, probably not enough. And I don't, you know, I don't really focus on that. And like, if anyone's got any suggestions or help, I'd be obviously welcome to listen to them or like take advice. But working with sponsors is super important. It's relationship building, and I, you know, like, I enjoy working with brands and creating relationships and you know, again, it's a job, you know, like, and I love that. And the social media thing also is you know, having that presence and sharing your content and creating videos, and again, it's important, and I love it. You know, I love sharing waves and things that I'm doing, and so it is something that I probably spend more time like on the socials than like really looking at, like, you know, my brand or website or that sort of stuff. You know.
Cool. So from the tri land here, next to the Black Forest in Germany, where do you fly to tomorrow on the search for the next big wave?
Well, actually, there's so I'm on the first flight out tomorrow morning back to Portugal.
Okay.
There's actually it's quite funny. There's quite a late season big swell. So I'll be landing in Lisbon at about 9:30, and hopefully I'll be back in the water about midday. That's the plan.
I may fly with you tomorrow instead of Barcelona.
Yeah. So there's be some good waves. So.
Andrew, that was a pleasure talking to you here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I wish you all the best, and hopefully you win the next challenge.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us, Andrew.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great to see you. Thanks. Good stories.
Thank you.
Cheers.
It's really cool to hear about like decision making from you. I mean, the idea of the swell and where you have to go and those last minute decisions. I feel like that really applies to any and all of us in the work that we do. So it's really cool to hear your perspective and kind of the extreme nature of it. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, cool. I just, you know, the taking the shot, you know, the getting actually wheeled out after that big spill and then coming back from that, it takes something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So, thanks very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks so much.
Thanks. Good. Cheers.